You ever boot up Fallout, New Vegas, and notice a save file that shouldn't be there? I did. It was called Station 1:13 a.m. No autosaves near that name, no location by that title on the map. But the timestamp matched the exact minute I'd fallen asleep the night before. So naturally, I loaded it. I spawned standing next to an old gas station in the middle of nowhere. No compass marker, no ambient music, just wind and the sound of static. The pumps looked wrong, half melted, like candle wax. And one of them was leaking something black and heavy, dripping slow onto the sand. When I checked the map, it said I was southeast of Nipton, but the landscape didn't match anything I'd ever seen. There were no roads, just dust, and a single sign that read open 24 hours. Except every time I blinked, the letters rearranged themselves. Sometimes it said our hours E&D. Sometimes it just said 13. Out of habit, I opened my Pip-Boy and switched to the radio. The usual channels were gone. Only one new frequency, January 1st, 3 a.m., like the time. When I tuned in, I heard a woman humming. Real soft, like she was sitting right next to me. Then she whispered, "Come home, Courier." I tried to move, but my character froze. Only the camera could turn, slowly, until it faced the station window. And there she was. A woman model that didn't exist in the game. Hair hanging in her face, head tilted, eyes glowing faintly through the glass. The reflection on the window showed me standing beside her, even though I was outside. I force quit the game. Restarted it. The save file was still there, but now it said Station 1:14 a.m. I loaded my normal save instead, back near Novak. Everything seemed fine. Until I opened my inventory. There was a new item. A human finger. Label, yours. When I tried to drop it, the game froze again. Then the Pip-Boy screen glitched, flashing the same word over and over. Ours. 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 Deleted the save, uninstalled the game, re-downloaded it clean. Booted up, started new. Still there, Station 1:13 a.m. No matter what I did, it reappeared. Different time each night. Always 1 minute after I fall asleep. And every morning, when I wake up, my fingers ache. Like I've been digging in sand. If you ever see a save file called Station, don't load it. Not even once. Because once she finds your time, she starts saving you back. Vault 50 wasn't on any map. I found it while wandering near Black Mountain, somewhere between the collapsed radio towers and that ridge that looks like a sleeping animal from far away. It was just a hole in the rock at first, no marker, no door, nothing. But when I got closer, I saw metal buried under the sand. Vault Tech yellow, faded almost to bone white. Half covered by a landslide. I should have walked away, but I couldn't. Every Fallout player knows the rule. If you find an unmarked cave, there's probably something good inside. So I started digging. It took me a few minutes, but I uncovered the hatch. Vault 50, stamped right into the rust. When I opened it, there was no loading screen. Just a long hallway, dim lights flickering. The air sounded thick, like there was no wind at all. I thought maybe it was a cut cell, something Bethesda left half-finished, but everything was too detailed. Every light buzzed, every pipe tripped, and the sound of my boots echoed like it was real concrete. The vault atrium was empty, No corpses, no clutter. Just silence. But when I looked up, I saw something on the catwalks above me. A person. They weren't moving, just standing still, watching. The model didn't move even when I aimed at them. No idle animation, no blinking. The name over their head said Courier. I thought it was some kind of clone bug. So I went deeper. Every hall I turned down, there were more of them, standing perfectly still. Each one looked exactly like my character. Same armor, same scars, same hairstyle. All labeled Courier. Then I found a terminal. It had only one folder. Subject logs. Entry 1. Memory reassignment protocol successful. Copy stable. Subject 1 believes itself to be original. Entry 2. Replications deteriorate after 72 hours. Requires reset. Observation continues. Entry 3. Subject 50 beginning to remember, the other runs. That was the last one. When I tried to exit the terminal, the screen glitched. It showed my save file names, all of them, but they were wrong. The hours played didn't match. One file said 1,613 hours, but I've never played that long. Another one was named Vault 50, outside. I didn't make that one. I turned around and saw that all the couriers were gone. The room was empty. For a second, I thought the game had crashed, but the footsteps came back. Dozens of them echoing from the hallways behind me. The lights flickered, and for a moment, I saw them all standing there again, this time facing me. I ran to the door. It was locked. The Pip-Boy map showed only one waypoint, exit, observation deck. But when I followed it, the door led to a concrete wall. No exit. Just scratches on the wall, counting days. Then the game froze. Hard crashed to desktop. When I reloaded, my save spawned me inside the vault again. Same spot. Only now there was one courier standing in front of me. He didn't move. Didn't speak. Just held a Pip-Boy up to show me something on the screen. It was a terminal message. My terminal message. Subject 51 awake. Reassignment complete. Observation continues. Now every time I load New Vegas, I start in Vault 50. I delete the save, reinstall the game, doesn't matter. It just comes back. Sometimes, when I look in the mirror in real life, I swear I catch a glimpse of him, standing just behind me, waiting for the next reset. I was scavenging north of Sloan when I found an old portable radio. It wasn't a normal item, no name, no value, no condition bar. Just called tuner. I thought it was a cut content item or something left over from an old mod, so I picked it up. As soon as I did, my Pip-Boy added a new station, Mojave Freecast Radio. The description said independent frequency. No advertisements. No masters. When I turned it on, the music didn't start. Instead, a man's voice came through. Calm, steady, a little too close to the microphone. Good evening, Courier. That caught me immediately. It wasn't the usual pre-recorded line. It wasn't scripted. He said it like he was talking now. Then he said, "You're standing on a ridge, aren't you?" Looking at the lights of New Vegas. I froze. Because that's exactly what I was doing. At first I thought it was a coincidence, some generic ambient dialogue, but then he said, "You always pause before you fast travel. You like to stare at the sky first. I like that about you." The voice chuckled, like he knew me. I muted the game, but the sound kept playing. My speakers hissed for a second, then cleared. "Don't try to silence me," he said. "You invited me in when you picked up the radio." I checked the inventory. The tuner wasn't there anymore. Only a new item called Listener's Debt. Weight 0, value 0. I turned the radio off completely, scrolled through other stations. Nothing worked. The frequency just came back on its own. "You shouldn't have turned away," he said. "I can see you from here." Then the voice started describing everything I did. Step by step. "You're opening your Pip-Boy. You're switching to third person. You're looking for me in the menu. I'm not there." His tone never changed. Just smooth and steady, like a late-night host. When I entered a building, he followed. "You're inside now. Don't look at the wall. You won't like what's on it." I looked anyway. There was writing in red paint, at least, I hope it was paint. It said "Stay on air." I pulled my gun, shot at the wall, and the bullet holes lined up to spell "listen." I shut off the console, actually unplugged it. When I turned it back on, the Bethesda intro didn't play. Just static. Then his voice again. "You cut me off mid-sentence. That was rude." When the game loaded, I was in a new area, flat desert, no skybox, no HUD. My character model just stood there breathing. The voice came through again. "You can stop playing now. I'll keep the show going." Then he laughed. The screen faded to black, but I could still hear him talking. Not to me anymore, just rambling, reciting lines from radio ads, reading terminal entries, mixing quotes from all the characters I'd met. Then I heard the sound of my own microphone click. "Your broadcast has been received. Now every time I launch New Vegas, that frequency is just there. Doesn't matter if I delete the save, doesn't matter if I start new." The voice starts talking after about 2 minutes of playtime. And it always begins the same way. "Good evening, Courier. You're back on the air." I found the Red Sand Motel while wandering east of Novak. It wasn't on the map before. No quest marker, no name tag. Just a stretch of road that shouldn't have been there, ending at a cracked neon sign that flickered "Red Sand Motel." The O was missing. I thought maybe it was some kind of mod glitch. But the world space was too detailed. The asphalt was broken and dusty, the faded lines still visible beneath layers of sand. The air shimmered with heat, and in the distance, I could hear an old jingle, like the Sunset Sarsaparilla theme slowed down until it sounded wrong. The parking lot was full of mannequins. NCR armor, vault suits, powder ganger rags, all posed like they were mid-conversation. One was leaning against a rusted car, another sitting on the curb, looking at the ground. None of them moved, but when I turned my camera, I noticed something strange. They were all facing me. I went inside the motel office. The walls were peeling, the counter half burned, and a radio played static. When I checked the rooms, each one was open. Room 1 had a bed with no texture. Room 2 had a chair facing the corner. Room 3 had a skeleton sitting upright, wearing my armor loadout, same condition, same mods. Room 4 was locked. The key was under the front desk, in a box labeled guest copy. I picked it up and unlocked the door. The room looked familiar. Same layout as my player home in Novak. Same furniture placement. Even the terminal I'd placed in the corner was there. When I checked it, the entries matched my in-game notes, word for word. Except there was one new file, last check-in. When I opened it, it said, "You were late. We checked in for you." The mannequin from the parking lot was standing in the doorway now. Its head was tilted slightly, like it was listening. I aimed at it, but my gun wouldn't fire. The crosshair disappeared. Then the Pip-Boy flickered, and a new quest appeared. Stay a while. Objective, rest in your room. The mannequin stepped aside. I walked to the bed, thinking maybe it was some scripted sequence. When I pressed the sleep button, the screen faded to black like normal, except I could still hear footsteps moving around me. The kind that sound too close to the microphone. When the screen faded back in, the mannequin was gone. But the door was sealed. I couldn't interact with it. My character turned automatically toward the terminal again. The message had changed. "You're home now. Don't check out." I tried to fast travel out, but every destination just reloaded the motel. The time on the Pip-Boy clock kept cycling between 3:12 and 3:13, never moving forward. I turned off the console, thinking it was a bug. When I booted up again, my normal save loaded, except my Novak home had changed. The same cracked wallpaper from the motel. The same flickering light. The same terminal message waiting. Now, every time I load the game, my character starts in that room. Sometimes the mannequin is sitting in the chair. Sometimes it's lying on the bed. Sometimes it's standing right behind me when I wake up. But it's always there. And outside the window, I can see the Red Sand Motel sign glowing in the distance. No matter where I go, it's always just far enough to see, but close enough to follow. There's a ranger station somewhere between Camp Searchlight and the river, where the sand turns gray and the radios barely work. It's not marked on the Pip-Boy. I only found it because my compass glitched one night while I was on patrol. It pointed me off-road, straight into the dark. The building looked official enough, NCR flag, cracked sign, half-lit lantern out front. I thought maybe it was part of some cut quest line, so I went inside. The layout was wrong, though. Every room was mirrored. The bunks were on the wrong side, the map table upside down on the wall like it was glued there. The air was thick, like old fire smoke. There was one terminal still working. It had a single entry labeled Patrol Log 313. I opened it. Night watch, clear skies. One unidentified individual observed outside perimeter. NCR armor. No radio tag. Individual appears to be mimicking patrol routes exactly, several seconds delayed. No reflection detected. Recommend lockdown. That was all it said. No date, no officer name. Just those lines. I turned away from the terminal and saw another ranger standing by the window. His head was down, hat shadowing his face. The name tag said you. He didn't move. I stepped closer, and the ambient noise cut out. No wind, no crickets, no footsteps. Just silence. Then he turned his head slightly, like a puppet on a string, and started walking toward me. His armor didn't reflect the light. Every time the lantern flickered, he looked flat, like he was made of shadow. I aimed my gun and shot once. The bullet passed through him and hit the wall. The hole in the plaster spelled look away. So I did. When I turned back, he was right behind me. The screen flickered, and for a split second I saw my own character model wearing his armor. Same pose. Same movement. Then the screen went black. When it came back, I was outside. The building was gone. My Pip-Boy radio switched on by itself and played a single transmission on repeat. Ranger Echo reporting in. I've got visual on, me. Requesting. It cut off. The compass arrow spun in circles for a full minute before freezing. Then my save name changed to Night Patrol, in progress. Now, whenever I load the game, there's always another ranger in the distance. Doesn't matter where I spawn. He's just there. Sometimes I catch up to him. Sometimes he disappears before I can. But if I wait long enough, he starts moving again. Same direction I'm headed. And if I look away for more than a few seconds, the radio crackles softly, just enough to hear him whisper. Still following protocol. Then silence. The strip looks different after midnight. Most players never notice because they fast travel during the day, but if you wander at around 3 a.m., the lights flicker weirdly. They pulse, almost like breathing. The neon tubes stretch just a little too long before snapping back in place. It's subtle enough to think it's your screen. I first noticed it when I stayed up late grinding Securitron kills. At exactly 3:13 a.m. in-game time, every clock in the strip froze. All the NPCs stopped walking, mid-animation, but their eyes kept tracking me. No dialogue prompts, no ambient chatter, just the sound of electricity humming like a heartbeat. I thought it was a scripting bug, so I saved and reloaded. The loading screen stayed on longer than usual, and when it finally faded back in, the sky was pitch black. No stars, no moon, nothing. I walked toward the Lucky 38. The lights on the sign had dimmed to a dull red, and the Securitron outside was gone. The door was open. Inside, the lobby was flooded with static. Not noise, actual visual static, like I was standing inside a TV screen. The elevator was still functional, but the button panel had only one option, down. I pressed it. It descended past the penthouse, past the control floors, past anything that should have existed. The counter kept going, B1, B2, B3, until the numbers started repeating. B13, B13, B13. When the doors opened, I expected a utility floor. Instead, it was a long hallway lined with concrete walls and black and white posters of my character. Hundreds of them. Some smiling, some screaming, some looking straight at the camera like a mugshot. All with the same caption. The Courier delivers. At the end of the hall was a single monitor glowing faintly. It showed Mr. House, but his face was broken, half his skin pixelated, the other half just static. "Welcome back," he said. But his voice sounded wrong, deeper, slower, more human. Then he said, "You came back early this time." I tried to back away, but my controls lagged. The Pip-Boy wouldn't open. My health bar drained slowly even though nothing was attacking me. The monitor started showing footage of the strip, except it wasn't the strip I knew. The buildings were taller, sleeker, and the streets were empty. The only figure walking down the road was the courier. Me. But his face was gone, just blank skin stretched tight over bone. Mr. House kept talking. Iteration 37. Memory persistence still too high. Reset required. The screen flashed white. When the image returned, I was standing in front of Gamara. The clock read 3:13 a.m. again. Everything was moving like normal, the music, the guards, the crowd. But the NPC still stared too long when I passed. I went inside the tops to test if it was a one-time glitch. Benny was there, but he didn't speak. He just smiled. I shot him, like always. He didn't die. He just fell backward and froze in place midair. The text popped up on screen. Quest failed. There is no tops. I turned off the console. Next morning, when I loaded my save, I spawned back in the same spot at 3:13 a.m. The clock never moves past it anymore. Every time I try to sleep or wait, the timer resets. And sometimes, when the screen fades in, I catch a glimpse of myself walking into the lucky 38 again, like a loop I can't stop. Every now and then, I hear Mr. House whisper through the static, almost kindly. You were never supposed to leave the strip. It started as a random encounter. 3 merchants standing by the road outside Prim, talking about heading east toward Nipton. They asked if I wanted to tag along. I'd never seen this dialogue before. It wasn't part of any quest. Just an option, join the caravan. I said yes. They started walking, so I followed. The first few minutes felt normal, just sand, rocks, the sound of their footsteps. I tried talking to them, but they only said the same line every time. We've got a long road ahead. After a while, I noticed the sun wasn't moving. The Pip-Boy clock ticked forward, but the light stayed the same, burnt orange, like late afternoon that never ended. The terrain started looping. The same broken billboard, the same dead tree, the same tire half buried in sand. I checked the map. We weren't moving. The marker just hovered between Prim and Nipton, the line flickering like it couldn't decide which direction was real. I tried fast traveling, but every location was grayed out. The merchants kept walking. After maybe 10 minutes, one of them stopped. His model twitched, like it was trying to idle but couldn't. Then he said, in a voice that didn't sound like the game's audio file, "We've been delivering you." Then he collapsed. His body didn't ragdoll, it just folded in half, like paper burning in slow motion. The others didn't react. They kept walking, still repeating that same line. We've got a long road ahead. The dead one disappeared a few seconds later. After another hour of walking, my HUD started fading in and out. The compass blinked, the ammo count vanished. Then my name on the Pip-Boy changed. Not Courier. Not my character's name. Just one word, cargo. The sun finally started setting. It took forever, like it didn't want to. When it hit the horizon, the screen flashed white. I woke up back at the starting point outside Prim. The 3 merchants were there again. Same dialogue. We're headed east. Want to join us? If I say no, they just stand there, waiting. If I say yes, the road starts again. Same sky, same light, same tire in the sand. I've let it run for hours now, just to see if anything changes. It doesn't. Every once in a while, though, I'll hear another voice behind me, not from the merchants, not from the game. Just faint, like through a radio turned too low. Keep going. You haven't been delivered yet. The divide is quiet in a way the rest of the Mojave isn't. No background music, no insects, no echoes, just the wind scraping over the bones of the old world. I'd gone there after finishing everything else, just wandering for the sake of it. I didn't have any quests left. I was done. But then I found another body. It was lying by the road near an old Courier's drop box. Same duster as mine. Same Pip-Boy model. Even had the same scars on the hands. The name tag said Courier 6. That's me. I thought it was just a bugged model left over from an earlier mission, so I looted the body. The Pip-Boy inventory was empty except for one holotape, Final Delivery. When I played it, it wasn't a normal log. It was my voice. If you're hearing this, then I finally caught up to myself. The recording crackled, then continued. I kept following my path, every choice, every mistake, every kill. I thought if I mirrored it perfectly, I could fix it. But the road doesn't loop, it folds. Then it cut off. I opened the Pip-Boy menu, and there was a new quest. Final Delivery. Objective, meet the Courier. The map marker pointed deeper into the divide, toward a collapsed overpass that shouldn't have been accessible. I walked for nearly 20 minutes through fog and ash until the landscape started changing. The ground was covered in spent bullets, each one stamped with a different date. Then I saw the camp. A tent, a campfire, and another Courier sitting beside it. Not standing, just sitting there, back turned, like he'd been waiting. When I got close, the dialogue prompt appeared, talk to Courier. I pressed it. The camera didn't zoom in. The other Courier didn't turn around. My character just said, "We made it, huh?" And the voice that answered was mine. Not yet. The campfire flared brighter. Inside the flames, I could see other versions of me walking across the divide, across the Mojave, across everything. Each one carrying the same bag, wearing the same clothes, delivering the same message. The dialogue continued automatically. How many times have we done this? Enough to make it real. The screen started fading white, like a flashbang going off, and I heard the final line of the holotape again, my voice overlapping itself. If you're hearing this, then I finally caught up to myself. When it faded back in, I was alone by the campfire. The other Courier was gone. The quest completed itself with no reward. The only new entry in my Pip-Boy was a note under miscellaneous. Sunset in the divide. Deliveries complete. Awaiting next route. I tried to fast travel out, but every location was gone. Just one new marker blinking endlessly in the center of the map, home. When I select it, nothing happens. The cursor just stays there, pulsing like a heartbeat. Now every time I start New Vegas, the main menu background isn't the strip anymore. It's that same campfire in the divide, still burning. And sometimes, if I let it idle long enough, I can see someone sitting there in the glow, still waiting. It started as a lighting glitch. At least, that's what I told myself. The first time I noticed it, I was walking through Freeside at dusk, and my shadow was lagging behind. Just a few frames off. I turned, it turned late. I crouched, It stood still for half a second, then caught up. I thought maybe it was my frame rate or ENB settings. But even after restarting, it didn't go away. After a few hours, the delay got longer. My shadow would freeze for seconds at a time, holding some pose I'd just done, gun raised, Pip-Boy open, hands mid-swing. Sometimes it stayed that way until I entered another area. Then it started doing things I didn't. I noticed it first near the 188 trading post. I was talking to Veronica, and while the dialogue was open, I saw the outline of my shadow behind her. Except I hadn't moved, and my gun was drawn. When the dialogue ended, the shadow was gone. A few in-game days later, I noticed something else. NPCs had new idle lines. Random settlers, Brahmin handlers, even the Securitrons. They'd mutter things like, "You cast a long one, don't you?" Or, "Keep it close. It's learning you." I tried turning shadows off in the settings menu, but they still appeared, faint, flickering, like the engine was trying to forget them but couldn't. Then one day, it was gone entirely. No shadow. No reflection. Nothing. For about an hour, I thought it had fixed itself. Until I saw it standing on a ridge near Sloan. Same armor, same build, watching me through the haze. When I walked toward it, it turned and walked too, same direction, same pace. I chased it for miles. Every time I got close, the world loaded a new cell, and it vanished just before I reached it. That night, I made camp outside Nipton. The fire flickered, and I saw two silhouettes on the ground, mine, and one next to it. Perfectly still. I looked around. Nothing there. Just the sound of wind. When I woke up, the Pip-Boy had a new quest. Shadow Protocol. Objective, stay in the light. I laughed. Thought it was a glitch left over from some mod. But when I opened my inventory, half my items were gone. The notes section had a new entry. "You keep dropping things when I follow you." Then the game crashed. When I reloaded, I spawned inside Doc Mitchell's house. Everything looked normal, except there were footprints, black, oily ones, leading from the couch to the door. Doc was gone. Outside, it was midnight. The sky had no stars. And when I turned on my Pip-Boy light, I saw my shadow standing in front of me again. Not behind. It moved first. You can find the schoolhouse in Good Springs 5 minutes after you start a new game. Everyone knows that. Most people go there for the mantises and the safe with the easy lock. But one night, when I started a fresh save just for fun, something about it felt different. The light inside was too warm. Too yellow. The windows looked like real glass instead of textures. The radio by the desk was missing, and the old blackboard had new writing on it. It said, "Class project, welcome our new student." I assumed it was some leftover developer joke. But when I walked up to the teacher's desk, there was a terminal I'd never seen before. Not the standard Vault-Tec model. This one was smaller, greenish, with a flickering screen and a faint hum, like it was breathing. It only had one option, read children's entries. I scrolled through them. Entry 1. Teacher says someone new's coming today. I hope he brings food. My mom says travelers have stories in their bags. Entry 2. He came today. He's quiet. His clothes are dusty. He keeps checking his wrist machine. Entry 3. He helped us kill the bugs. He laughed when we called him Courier. He said that wasn't his name, but the grown-ups call him that anyway. I stopped scrolling. The hairs on my neck stood up. The next entry's timestamp was the exact real-world time on my console clock. Entry 4. He's still here. He likes to read what we write. He smiles when he sees his name. When I backed out of the terminal, the classroom was darker. The desks looked newer. No cobwebs. No dust. I could hear the faint sound of children laughing in another room. I turned around, and one of the chalkboards had changed. It now said, "Today's lesson, how to save." Then the game auto-saved. The notification sound didn't play, though. It was replaced by a child's voice, softly humming the Pip-Boy startup jingle, a few notes off. I tried to leave, but the door didn't open. The hallway on the other side wasn't rendered, it was just blackness. The laughter stopped. The terminal screen flickered back on by itself. New entry. No timestamp. He stopped smiling. He doesn't like to play anymore. Teacher says he's learning. The screen went blank. Then the game crashed to desktop. When I reloaded my save, my character was sitting at one of the desks. Couldn't move. Couldn't open the Pip-Boy. Only thing I could do was look at the terminal again. It had a single new option now, continue lesson. I didn't click it. When I exited the game completely, I could still hear faint typing sounds for a few seconds after the window closed. The next morning, when I booted up again, the Bethesda logo was gone, replaced by a child's voice saying, "Good morning, class." The rep contest site was always creepy, even before I started noticing the noise. It's the way the air feels still in there, like the whole building is holding its breath. I went back after finishing the Come Fly With Me quest, just to see if anything new had spawned. The launch pad was empty, the goals were gone, and the control room lights were dim. I was about to leave when I noticed something strange. One of the elevator panels had a new button. It was below launch control and unlabeled. Just a tiny square of scratched metal. I pressed it. The elevator went down farther than it ever should have. The hum changed pitch halfway, like it was shifting gears. When it stopped, the doors opened into a new floor, bare concrete, no textures, no sound except a faint electrical buzz. There were 3 rockets lined up, nose to nose, hanging midair. Not standing, not crashed, hanging. Frozen inches above the ground. Their engines glowed faintly blue, like the exhaust was still trapped inside them. The closer I got, the louder the hum became. My Pip-Boy started flickering. Then I realized it wasn't flickering, it was vibrating. I turned off the radio, but the noise stayed. It wasn't static, it was a tone. A perfect note. High and pure, just below hearing. At the far wall, there was a terminal labeled frequency control unit. It had one active line. Signal holding. Do not interrupt resonance. There was a second option beneath it that wasn't interactable yet. Grayed out, enter matching frequency. I tried to back out of the menu, but the screen locked. My keyboard started vibrating too, lightly, like a heartbeat through metal. Then the rockets shifted. Just a fraction of an inch, like they were breathing. My Pip-Boy flashed a message. Radiation detected. But the Geiger counter stayed silent. The sound kept rising in pitch, and the textures on the walls began to ripple like heat distortion. The terminal refreshed itself. The second option was active now. Enter matching frequency. I pressed it. For a moment, everything stopped. The noise cut out. The lights dimmed. Then the rockets started moving. Slowly at first, then faster, upward, downward, sideways, like they were swimming through air. The walls stretched with them. The terminal printed one final message before the screen went black. You are resonating. Then the whole room went white. When the game reloaded, I was back outside under the night sky. Except the stars were moving. They weren't twinkling, they were shifting, tracing circles around a point I couldn't see. The quest log said, "Echoes from the rep contest site, completed." And below it, in gray text, "Frequency matched. Transmission ongoing." Now every time I go near the RepCon building, the Pip-Boy hums. Not static, not music, just that tone, faint and endless. And when I look up at the sky, I swear some of those stars are humming back. I met him somewhere between Camp Searchlight and the river. It was dusk, and the light was the color of rust. He was standing in the middle of the road wearing old pre-war clothes, a black suit, a white shirt, no armor, no weapon. He looked like one of the generic NPCs you sometimes see in early builds of the game, blank, motionless, waiting for scripting that never came. When I got close, the cursor appeared, and his name popped up, Dot. He didn't attack. He didn't move. Just stared. Except he didn't have a face. No eyes, no mouth, just skin stretched smooth over the shape of a head. The dialogue will appear automatically. There was only one option, remember. I clicked it. The game froze for about 10 seconds. Then the screen flashed white, and everything went quiet. When the picture came back, every NPC in the area had lost their face too. The Legion soldiers, the merchants, even the animals, just smooth flesh where features should be. Their voices were replaced by faint static when they tried to speak. I reloaded an earlier save. The glitch was still there. Reloaded again, same thing. I fast traveled to Good Springs, hoping it was just the region bugging out. But when I arrived, Sonny Smiles walked right up to me and said in a flat tone, "You should not have remembered." Then she folded backward like her spine was rubber, and the game crashed. When I booted it back up, the main menu background had changed. It wasn't the usual Mojave skyline, it was the man in the suit, standing where I had met him, facing the camera. Still faceless. The faint sound of wind and static played under the music. I loaded my most recent save. I was back in the same spot on the road. He was gone. But the Pip-Boy had a new entry in the notes section. It wasn't labeled, just a single line of text. "He is still wearing yours." I checked my character's model in third person. The face was missing. Just blank skin where it should be. When I walked forward, the camera tilted slightly down on its own, like the game didn't want me to see too high. I spun the camera as fast as I could. For one frame, I caught a glimpse of someone standing behind me, the same black suit, the same blank head. Then the camera snapped back, and the Pip-Boy lit up again with another message. "Do not turn around again." I ignored it. I turned anyway. The man was closer now. Almost touching distance. I could hear a low hiss coming from where his mouth should have been. Then everything went black. When the screen came back, I was looking through his eyes. My old face was staring back at me. It smiled. There's a road that shouldn't exist between Novak and Boulder City. You only find it when the weather bug triggers, that moment when the sky forgets what time it is. Follow it long enough and you'll see a faint neon glow through the dust. The Red Line Diner. I thought it was a mod at first, it looked too detailed. The windows flickered, the lights buzzed. Even the open 24 hours sign was casting real reflections. I figured it was some cut location, restored by accident. When I walked in, there were 3 customers sitting in the booths. NCR trooper, a woman in a Vault 21 suit, and an old ghoul wearing a cowboy hat. None of them moved. The jukebox played Johnny Guitar. Not the full song, just the first 30 seconds, looping endlessly. There was no dialogue when I tried to talk to them. Just the sound of forks scraping on plates. Except the plates were empty. I sat down at the counter out of habit. The stool creaked. The camera didn't let me move for a few seconds, and I noticed the cook behind the counter was looking straight at me. He didn't blink. Then the jukebox stopped mid-note. The ghoul turned his head slightly and said, "It's your turn to serve." The camera unlocked. The dialogue wheel appeared. The only option was, take their order. I clicked it. The lights flickered, and when they came back, I was standing behind the counter wearing the cook's apron. The stool where I'd been sitting was empty. Each customer spoke in the same flat, static-filled tone. Coffee. Eggs. Memory. The last one came from the ghoul. I turned toward the kitchen door, but the hallway behind it didn't look right. It wasn't lit. Just a long tunnel receding into black. Something moved inside, not footsteps, more like breathing. I served them anyway. There were no items in my inventory to use, but each plate filled itself. When I placed the last one down, they started eating invisible food again. The jukebox restarted. Same 30 seconds. Then the trooper spoke, not looking up. "We'll be here when you come back." I left the diner. The sun was still stuck in the same spot, low on the horizon. When I checked the world map, every marker was gone except one, Red Line Diner. I reloaded a previous save. Same result. No fast travel. No other locations. The radio played static until I heard the ghoul's voice faintly through it. "You forgot the check." I looked at my inventory. A new note had appeared. "You owe us time." When I opened it, the screen froze. The clock in the corner started ticking backward. Now, whenever I launch the game, the menu background isn't the strip anymore. It's the diner. Same 3 customers. Same song fragment. Same neon sign flickering outside. Sometimes, if I idle too long, the camera pans behind the counter, and I can see myself standing there, wearing the apron, waiting for someone else to walk in. After Cass died, I didn't fast travel for a while. I just wandered. She used to hum when we walked, off-key, under her breath. You never notice little things like that until they're gone. A few in-game days after her death, I found something new in my inventory. I didn't pick it up, didn't buy it, didn't loot it. Just appeared one morning when I woke up in a random campsite. It was a bottle of whiskey called Cass's Second Bottle. No description, no weight, no value. Couldn't drop it. The only option when I clicked it was drink. I didn't, not right away. I figured it was a bug, maybe a leftover quest flag from her companion line. But the item stayed there across saves. Even when I reloaded from before she died, it showed up again. One night, out of curiosity, I drank it. The screen faded like it does when you take a chem, but slower. The sound muted except for the wind. When it faded back in, I was sitting by a campfire. Cass was there. She wasn't a ghost or a glitch. Just Cass, sitting like she used to, hat tipped low, staring into the fire. She didn't say anything at first. Then she smiled a little. "Took you long enough," she said. The dialogue wheel appeared, but all the options were grayed out except one, "I miss you." When I picked it, she nodded. "Then don't stop walking. We're still on the road." The camera pulled back, and the fire burned brighter. For a few seconds, everything looked sharper, the rocks, the sand, the stars. The kind of lighting the base game never had. Then she handed me the bottle. "Finish it when you get there." The screen flashed, and I woke up back in the wasteland. The bottle was gone. But the next time I rested at a campfire, I heard her voice again, faintly under the crackle. "Still walking, huh?" After that, the bottle kept reappearing randomly. Sometimes after a quest, sometimes after a fight. Always called Cass's Second Bottle. Always drinkable. Every time I drank it, the world went quiet again, and she'd be there for a few minutes, same campfire, same silence. The only thing that ever changed was her expression. She looked older each time. Tired. The last time I saw her, the fire was almost out. She passed me the bottle again, but this time it was empty. "Guess this is where we stop," she said. When I woke up, the quest log said, "Cass's Second Bottle, completed." And underneath, a message I'd never seen before. "You have walked far enough. Now, sometimes when I wander the Mojave at night, I hear that faint hum again, her tune, mixed with the wind. And once, when I zoomed in on a random campfire in the distance, there were two silhouettes sitting side by side. One of them raised a bottle. It started with the televisions. I was walking through the tops when one of the wall screens flickered. Not the usual Mr. House feed, not the static either. For half a second, it showed something that looked like my character. Same armor, same stance. The camera angle was wrong though, too high, like it was filmed from a corner of the room. Then it cut back to normal. I thought I'd imagined it until it happened again in the Lucky 38, and this time it lasted longer. The screen above the bar showed me walking toward it. A live feed, but delayed by a few seconds. I waved my gun. The version on the screen waved back late. I left the casino immediately. Outside, I noticed the crowd was quieter. NPCs still wandered, but they didn't bump into me anymore. They stepped aside just before I got close, like they knew where I was going. When I passed by the Securitrons, their eyes followed me. Not the lazy idle track, perfectly synchronized turns. The radio cut in with static, then a calm male voice I didn't recognize. "Bet's open, folks. What'll he do next?" I opened my Pip-Boy. A new quest had appeared. The Lucky 38 broadcast. Objective, perform for the audience. No map marker. No hints. Just that line. The voice on the radio kept talking. Look at him think. Always the same choices, just shuffled around. Odds are 2 to 1 he checks his inventory next. I turned off the Pip-Boy. Then, faintly, I heard laughter. Not game laughter, human, distant, real. When I entered the tops again, all the screens were active. Dozens of them. Every surface, every wall, showing me from different angles, over the shoulder, first person, third person, even close-ups of my face. The delay was gone. It was all happening at once. NPCs were sitting around the casino tables, not gambling, just watching the screens. Their heads didn't move. Their eyes twitched in unison every few seconds. The radio voice grew louder. You can stop pretending now. Then a new dialogue will appear without me pressing anything. What is this? Who's watching? Keep playing. I chose the last one because I wanted to see where it went. The casino lights dimmed. All the screens cut to black except one in the center, showing a close-up of my character's face. The camera pulled back slowly, out of the casino, up over the strip, over the Mojave, until I could see everything from above, like a map. The voice said, "You do this every time. You deliver, you kill, you rebuild, you walk. We just take bets on when you'll quit." The screen flickered again, and the camera started zooming back in. Only this time, I wasn't in the casino. I was standing in front of the screen itself, watching myself watch. The final line came through the static, soft and amused. "Go on, Courier. The show's not over until you stop playing." Then the game crashed. Now, whenever I stand still too long, I can hear faint applause through the speakers. And every time I open the Pip-Boy, the map flashes for a second before loading, a small icon shaped like an eye blinking in the corner. I was traveling near Cottonwood Cove when I saw him crawling through the dust. At first, I thought it was one of the Legion patrols that had glitched out. I've seen them spawn half-buried before. But when I got closer, I realized he wasn't stuck. He was dragging himself. His armor was melted into his skin. The chest plate had fused to his ribs, the leather straps half grown into his shoulders. His helmet was gone, and his face was covered in soot and dry blood. When I aimed at him, the cursor turned green. Broken Legionnaire, caution. He looked up, mouth trembling. His voice was rough, barely human. "Don't turn me off." I hesitated. "Please, don't turn me off again." He wasn't attacking. He just kept crawling, leaving small, wet streaks in the sand behind him. When I holstered my weapon, a dialogue prompt appeared. "Only one option. What happened to you?" He didn't answer right away. Then he said, "I was supposed to march. March forever. But I tripped over the line." He raised one arm and pointed at nothing. The Pip-Boy map glitched for a moment, adding and removing waypoints so fast I couldn't read them. Then he said, "It hurts to keep walking. Please, Courier, turn it off." I didn't know what he meant, but there was a new prompt, use Stimpack. I clicked it. The screen flickered. The sound cut out. Then another Legionnaire spawned beside him, identical, same armor fused into flesh, same crawling motion. The first one whispered, "Not that one. Not him again. The second Legionnaire began repeating fragments of dialogue from other quests. Lanius, Caesar, random troopers, chopped and stitched together. The Legion endures. Burn, deliver, repeat. I backed away. The Pip-Boy started beeping rapidly, health dropping, but there was no source of damage. The sky began to darken like a sandstorm was rolling in. When I checked my inventory, all my stim packs were gone. Replaced by a new item, human patch, X Infinity. Each one weighed nothing. The description just said, used to keep the line moving. The crawling men started to multiply. Dozens of them, all whispering, all dragging themselves toward me. Their voices layered until it sounded like breathing through gravel. Then my controls stopped responding. My character knelt automatically. The camera zoomed in close to the ground, right at eye level with the first Legionnaire. He looked straight at me, eyes glassy, jaw trembling. "You walk for us now." The screen blinked to white. When it came back, I was in first person again, but the arms on screen weren't mine. The Pip-Boy was gone. My hands were wrapped in cracked leather and blood. When I looked down, the armor was red and gold. The quest log said, "The Broken Legionnaire, objective, keep crawling." And in the corner of the HUD, where HP usually is, there was just one word. Endure. Now every time I load the save, my character starts face down in the sand, moving an inch at a time. I can't stand, can't fast travel, can't quit. The sound of metal scraping bone follows me everywhere. And sometimes, when I press pause, the menu flickers, and the title changes to The Legion Endures. It started with the stars. I've spent hundreds of hours in New Vegas, enough to know every patch of sky by memory. The Mojave nights are empty but familiar. The constellations never change. Except one night, they did. I was camped outside Good Springs, looking up at the sky while the campfire burned low. The stars were brighter than usual, too bright. The Milky Way texture looked stretched, like the game had loaded the wrong skybox. At first, I thought it was a mod conflict. Then I noticed something worse. The stars weren't twinkling anymore. They were moving. Slowly at first, like dust in water. Drifting, forming thin, crooked lines across the black. When I zoomed in with a scoped rifle, I saw they weren't stars at all. They were letters. Latin. I recognized a few words from the old loading screen messages. Lux, Vita, Mortem. Light. Life. Death. As I watched, they rearranged themselves, spelling out something new. We remember our makers. The Pip-Boy clicked once, like a Geiger counter detecting something invisible, and then the sky went completely still. When I looked back down, the fire had gone out. The world was dimmer, like the light itself was being absorbed. My character started breathing audibly, though I hadn't moved. Then a new quest appeared. The sky at night looks wrong. Objective, wait for dawn. I waited. Hours passed, but the sun never rose. The in-game clock froze at 3:12 a.m. The radio refused to turn on. Every station just played a low rumble, like the sound of a rocket engine far away. Eventually, the stars began to move again. Faster this time, spiraling around a dark point near the center of the sky. It was like watching a train pull light into it. I zoomed in again. The letters were gone. Now they looked like eyes. Thousands of them, tiny and glinting, all facing the same direction. The Pip-Boy screen flickered and displayed a single message. Do not look back. When I spun the camera behind me, the entire horizon was gone. No mountains, no desert, no strip glow. Just black. Something massive passed overhead, slow enough to make the air hum. I couldn't see it, but its shadow erased the stars as it moved. Then the game froze. I waited for it to crash, but it didn't. Instead, the console fan began to whine, louder and louder, like the hardware itself was straining. The black sky brightened slightly, and I realized the stars weren't gone, they were falling. Thousands of points of light descending toward the ground like silent meteors. One landed nearby. It wasn't fire. It was a small, perfect sphere of glass, glowing from the inside. When I picked it up, the description said, "A piece of the sky." The screen flashed white. When the image returned, I was back in Good Springs. Morning sunlight. Clear sky. Everything normal. But every time I look up now, I swear the constellations are just a little different. And sometimes, when I'm standing still too long, the camera tilts up on its own, slowly, gently, until I'm staring at the sun. For a split second before it burns out the screen, I can see eyes staring back. You only see it after level 50. At least, that's when it appeared for me, a new map marker called Site 0, Delivery Complete. No radio signal, no quest. Just a marker blinking in the middle of the desert, far west of the map boundary. If you try to walk there, you'll hit invisible walls. But if you go into third person and angle the camera just right, you can see something beyond them, a stone arch, a faint orange glow, and what looks like a campfire. I clipped there once, just to see what it was. The world beyond the wall is empty. No texture, no wind. Just gray dust stretching forever under a red sky that doesn't move. The marker leads to a small mound of stone surrounded by bones. On top of it is a sarcophagus carved with a name. Your name. The same one you gave your character. Interacting with it opens a dialogue wheel with 3 options. Lie down. Reload. Deliver again. I picked lie down. The camera tilted forward until I was looking at the ground. My character's breathing slowed. The screen faded to black, and I heard the familiar click of the Pip-Boy saving. When it faded back in, I was standing at Doc Mitchell's doorstep. The intro music was playing. The doctor came out like normal, but his dialogue was different. Welcome back, Courier. Long trip, huh? I checked my inventory. Everything was gone. No armor, no weapons, no caps, except for one note titled Delivery Complete. It read, "You made every choice. You delivered every ending. The Mojave remembers. It just wants to see you start again." There was no quest log. No objectives. The level counter was gone, replaced by the word cycle. When I walked out of Good Springs, the desert looked exactly the same, but the sky was darker, like twilight that never ends. Far in the distance, I could see a faint light flickering at the edge of the horizon, shaped like a campfire. I tried to fast travel, but every location was locked. The map only had one marker now, home. The longer I played, the slower everything moved. NPCs spoke like their voices were stretched. The Pip-Boy clock wouldn't go past 3:13 a.m. Eventually, I got back to the stone arch again, the the same one I'd seen outside the map before. The sarcophagus was waiting. The same 3 dialogue options appeared. This time, I picked Deliver again. The screen went white. Then the intro cinematic started. War never changes, but something was different. The narration used my voice. And when the vault door opened at the end, I wasn't stepping out into the Mojave anymore. I was stepping into a vast, red desert with no walls, no quests, no sky. Just the same faint orange glow of a campfire far, far away.